All right, guys, moving on to number two here. Has this first of all, and I took some liberty. I kind of went and I drew our Phillips curve. I got our short run Phillips curve. I got our long run Phillips curve, which is very close to our natural rate of unemployment, our full unemployment rate. Okay, and then it's going to ask us to label some things. Okay, so we've got to label these different percentages. Now, the first one that I'm going to label is going to be this natural rate of unemployment. Okay, and so that's going to be our number that also would match up if we had to draw with it the long run aggregate supply. Okay, so we can label this point here at 4%. Okay. All right, so we get that one knocked out. Now, the next thing we know is that our current unemployment is at 6%. Okay, so we've got to move this way on the axis. Okay, now it also says market with an X on the question. So I'm going to put a point right here. Okay, I'm going to label it X. And I'm going to drag that down and I'm going to say 6%. All right. Now, the trickiest part of this problem here, and one thing I got to be honest, we didn't cover very much, is this expected inflation equals 3%. Now, expected inflation is going to have to occur to the what the inflation rate is before a recession hits. If you remember, we talked business cycles with GDP and all that stuff. Business cycles are unpredictable. Okay, so this recession happens, and people are saying, "Okay, well, hey, listen." Before the recession, like, okay, things are going to keep going, and we're going to have this. We're going to have this price level, okay, this inflation rate set here for a long time because we're in this long run equilibrium. Okay, so I went and I added this quick little graph. So we're here. We're expecting to be here, right? Business cycles unpredictable. COVID virus unpredictable. We don't know that that's going to happen. So we're behaving at this price level. Well, part of that price level, right, is inflation rates. I'm sorry, interest rates. Okay, and again, interest rates are based on inflation. And anyway, so the tricky part about this problem would be that our expected inflation rate, okay, is going to be 3%. Okay, so for part A, right there, these are the things that you would need to. These are the things that you would need to realize. Okay, so part B asks you, is the actual inflation rate greater than, less than, or equal to the expected inflation rate? Well, our actual inflation rate's down here, okay, because we know that inverse correlation between unemployment and inflation. Okay, so for part B, it's less than. Okay, it's below that level on the y axis. And so the nice thing about part B is it's multiple choice. You got a 1 out of 3 chance of getting that right if you were asked something like this. All right. Okay, so for part C, it's asking you who's better off, lenders or borrowers, if we set this interest rates at the expected inflation rate. Well, here's the tricky part is if the actual inflation rate is below that 3%, let's just call it 1%. All right. So my actual inflation means that I'm only going to get a 1% raise every single year. Okay, that's what we've got to assume. Well, if our expected inflation rate's up at 3%, right, that means the value of my money is decreasing or is not increasing as fast as my loan percentage. Okay, so my lenders are better off because people's income will not keep growing at the same rate as their loan interest rate. All right, for part D, all right, pretty straightforward. You just got to remember the fact. Okay, for part D, our natural rate of unemployment, okay, is never going to change. So our long run Phillips curve is never going to move. Okay, so they kind of throw all that information in there. They say, oh, based on the relationship between actual and expected employment rate or inflation rates, they're just trying to throw you off. Okay, our natural rate of unemployment will never change. All right, number 3 here, just real quick. You don't have to do letters B and C. So we've got a situation where people are increasing their savings for retirement. So maybe that means that they, instead of buying a car with cash or going out to eat every other night or whatever, people decide, hey, listen, we've got to start saving our money. And so what we've got to tie our head around is remember that as interest rates go up, okay, I'm going to want to save my money in banks. I'm going to get a better return. If I know the stock market is going to give me a good return, I'm going to put more money into the stock market. Okay, we already know what the demand for loans is going to do, right? If loans are too expensive, we can't borrow money. If they're cheaper, we're going to borrow more money. And so this is telling you that people are increasing their savings. Okay, supply is the savings side of things. So envision a bunch of people putting their money into safes. So banks have more money to loan. We compare it to bananas, right? They've got to get rid of the bananas. They've got to get rid of the money. What's going to happen is we should see an increase in supply, all right, where interest rates decrease, right, and the quantity of money borrowed is going to increase as well, okay? But part A is just telling you, is asking you what happens to the interest rate after you draw the graph. Interest rates decrease. All right, pretty straightforward there. Again, part B and part C you don't need to know for this particular test.